The time is now 6:01 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Today is May 22nd, 2024, and it is the regular meeting for the Hastings School Board. Chair Clerk Milner, could you please take attendance?
Director Pine.
Here.
Director Zuzik. Vice Chair Dressley.
Here.
Chair Tate.
Here.
Director Bruns.
Here.
Director Milner. Here. And Director Biermeyer.
Here.
All right, thank you. Now could I please ask everyone to stand and remove your headwear where able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, could I please get a motion on the agenda?
Pine motion. Zuzik second.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion carries unanimously to approve the agenda. Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the April 24th, May 9th, and May 13th board meetings.
Zuzik moves to approve all three minutes.
Biermeyer seconds.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion passes unanimously to approve all three meeting minutes. Next, I'd like to recognize the visitors who are both in the room and online. We appreciate you being here and for being involved in Hastings Public Schools. All right, next we have the Raider Spotlight. Superintendent Champa.
All right, everyone knows this is my very favorite part of every board meeting because it's really, we talk about the heart of the work that we do, and it's about our students. And so an opportunity to recognize our students, staff, and community members. And first, I'd like Brianna Dietz to come up. And if you want to tell us about the Minnesota Bilingual Seal, the award recipients, and any words that you'd like to share.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Dietz, and I teach multilingual students at Hastings High School. Tonight, I would like to recognize our graduating seniors receiving the Minnesota Bilingual Seal Award. The Minnesota Bilingual Seal Award is an official academic recognition of students' bilingualism and biliteracy, awarding language certificates or bilingual seals to Minnesota high school graduates who have met the required levels of proficiency in a world language and fulfilled the English language arts credit. There are 3 award levels: World Language Proficiency Certificate, Gold Bilingual Seal, and Platinum Bilingual Seal. Each award may be honored for free college credit at a Minnesota State College. This is Hastings High School's first year participating in the Minnesota Bilingual Seal program. We would like to congratulate 3 seniors receiving Minnesota Bilingual Seal program awards this year. Tonight I have with me Stephanie Gutierrez. She is receiving the Gold Bilingual Seal in Spanish and English. Congratulations. Is there anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Dietz and Mr. Doran and all my staff for giving me the chance to attend Hastings High School and to help me achieve my dreams to go to law enforcement.
Congratulations. I would also like to recognize the 2 seniors not with us tonight. We have Stephanie Mendoza Reyes. She is receiving the Gold Bilingual Seal in Spanish and English, as well as Leonel Melendez Lara. He is awarded the World Language Proficiency Certificate in Spanish and English. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
We also have Raider Spotlight Awards for you, so I will pass on the 2 for those who are not here. And then congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
right, next we have Craig Beisel and Abby Myers here, and they have our Rotary students of the second semester, and always a favorite day at Rotary as well. So if you want to introduce that and take it away.
I am Abby Myers. Craig Beisel is the other one standing up here, and we're here today. We have one of our 4 second semester nominees. The other 3 are at choir. So shows just how involved they are in the community and school and everything from there. So from Rotary perspective, we wanted to thank the school board for letting us come here and acknowledge these students who are doing awesome things, the parents for raising amazing kids and sharing them with us, and all of the teachers for nurturing, developing them, and just helping them grow and blossom. And then Mr. Doran and team for nominating and selecting these winners. I'm sure there are many that we don't actually get to acknowledge, but it is always fun to see them. The criteria that we require for the Rotary Student of the Month or that they're involved in various school or other service-related groups, they take a leadership role among their peers, diligently work to ensure success for themselves and others, and they exemplify the Rotary 4-way test, which is of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And we close every meeting with that 4-way test just to remind ourselves. But these qualities were portrayed in all of these students. The school does a nice job of a little write-up that we all get to share, but I was reading through it trying to pick out a couple things to say, and throughout all of them, there's patience, kindness, leadership, giving back to their community, and volunteering their time even when they're not required to. So I think I'll turn it over to Mikey, and he can describe for you some of the things that he found from there.
All right. Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to acknowledge Mark Zuzek for acknowledging the 4-way test. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. And second, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to be a part of the Rotary Club and just be part of this district in general. I was actually not initially from here. I came from San Antonio, the land of the Alamo, like fighting for our freedom, yeehaw. And so being able to make this massive transition and so effortlessly, being able to be part of something bigger, like volunteering with Youth Impact Council, as with Jackie and Amy, and being able to be part of this community is something I really like about it. It feels more like home to me than anything else. And I appreciate y'all for doing what you do. Thank you.
Wonderful. The 3 students who aren't able to be here tonight are Natasha Spagel, Amber Keller, and Abigail Englund. So they're also awards this semester.
One thing I'll just add, when Mikey was being recognized at Rotary, he talked a lot about the service that he provides and what he likes to volunteer, and he failed to mention that he's also a National Merit Scholar. So congratulations.
We do have one more bilingual SEAL student here. I know Ms. Dietz had to leave, but if we can bring her up. Yeah. Another Stephanie. Yeah. Don't be shy. These are nice people. So Stephanie, we learned what the bilingual SEALs is. Can you just introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your experience with that program?
Yeah. So, my name is Stephanie Mendoza-Reyes, and I think the Bilingual SEALs program is great for opportunities, like college-wise. If you want to earn up to like 2 or 3 semesters free of college or something, I think is a wonderful thing. And
what are your plans next year?
Go to Dakota County Technical College and study engineering.
Thank you.
Ms. Dietz also has a Reader Spotlight for you too, Stephanie. Right, next we have an award for AAUW Minnesota Young Women for Equity Grant winner, Ryan Miska. How did I do on the pronunciation? Yep. Excellent, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Hedin. I'm the president of the Hastings branch of the American Association of University Women, which is an organization that has existed since 1881 with a focus on advancing gender equity through research, education, and advocacy. The Hastings branch is in its 54th year. The AAUW of Minnesota provides a grant opportunity to a young woman, either in high school or college, that has led a measurable project that's mission focused for AAUW. I believe that for the first time, a Hastings student has been recognized with that statewide award, and it was particularly sweet. Hastings branch was hosting the state convention this year. So we were able to host the convention at the Confluence and have a Hastings high school student receive that statewide equity award. And we were very proud both to nominate Ms. Miska, and then obviously to have her acknowledged at the state level. At this time, I'd like Ryan to introduce a little bit about the project that she submitted for the award and what her plans are at this time going forward.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a senior, obviously, at Hastings this year. I did this project primarily last year. It's going to continue, ideally. I did it with the Feminism Club. I'm the president of the Feminism Club. I have been for kind of 2 years. And I brought this up with Ms. Jager, who's our teacher advisor. I volunteered at Hastings Lewis House. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It's a shelter for women escaping domestic violence. They did recently combine with the Egan location, but at the time it was the Hastings location where I volunteered. And I was familiar with some like really specific shortages and needs there. They get plenty of like very specific things, and then there's just very large shortages elsewhere. So I was just talking with Ms. Jager, thinking like Hastings High School is just such a profound resource, and then I figured there was something that we ought to do to make a connection between a shortage and a resource. And so we did what we call a product drive, and we called it a product drive because I knew specifically what the shelter was in need of, and so we asked for those specific things. So it wasn't like a clothing drive or like a house needs drive. It was plenty of things, and we filled up my car with like things like, you know, that they needed. We got a lot of specific clothing needs that were short, like adult women's clothing and plus size women's clothing. They had plenty of kids, but they needed adult clothing, so they got that. There were lots of housewares, pots and pans. We got lots of pots and pans, which they definitely needed. A lot of women were going with absolutely nothing. They were leaving the world, leaving the shelter into the world with absolutely nothing. So we got a lot of those needs, and that was really fantastic to see and do. And yeah, I guess that was the project. This coming year, I just graduate, so I'm a PSEO student full-time, so I did just graduate with my associates with a focus in political science from Inver Hills. And so I'm just going into high school for band at this point, but then I'll be graduating this year. I'm going to be going to Fordham University in New York. I have a full tuition scholarship, and I'm going to be studying finance out there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just a small token. Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
work. All right, next up we have, and I don't believe he's here tonight, but we have MIEA Parent Advisory Committee Member of the Year Award winner was Keenan Humphrey. So Keenan is the chair of our Native American Parent Committee, and he was recognized at the state level for being Committee Member of the Year. So we're proud of his accomplishments as well. and wish he could have been with us here tonight. Next, we have Logan Farm Designs, and just a little background, if anyone was at the staff appreciation, the awards that were given to our staff members for years of service, Teacher of the Year, all of those things were absolutely phenomenal. They were just beautiful. I wish I had been here a number of years so I could get one. But I was just so impressed when Logan met with us and just wanting to give to the community. And all of our Raider Spotlight Awards now are also the work from you. So we just can't thank you enough for your work. And please come forward and tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the community.
This is my hubby, Rick, and I'm Afton. So I own Logan Farm Designs. We just moved to Hastings. I always say we just, and it's not, in 2019. We came from Lakeville and found a place, a little acreage out in Ravenna Township, and it had a fantastic shop, wood shop, and I started a business out there, and mostly signs, but my biggest thing is to give back to the community. When we lived in Lakeville, I volunteered a lot for the PTO and did things for them, but I haven't been able to find, my place, but I feel like I have now. And now that doing the awards and honoring our teachers and staff that have been here, and it was during COVID. I know everybody, or at least we had, becoming a teacher at home was difficult. So that was a big thing for myself to want to give back to the teachers and staff, to say thank you so much for everything that you do, because it was a wake-up call how it is at home, so for teaching. But yeah,
we are so grateful for your generosity and being part of our community, so thank you. And you get your very own award.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have public comment, and this evening we have one speaker. The speaker will be allotted with 3 minutes of time, and Ms. Ludwig has a 30-second sign to alert you to your time remaining. We ask that speakers state their name for the record and refrain from using this time to criticize or complain about any specific employees by name. Please be aware that the school board is interested in hearing comments from the public and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond or debate in this setting. We also request that all speakers be respectful. And please note that comments by any others may be ruled out of order, and those not abiding by this may potentially be asked to leave. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Hedin. I'm a resident of Denmark Township. I'm a former school board member and current district employee, 1 day a week. I wanted to speak tonight to the question of governance, and I want to ask you as a board to recommit yourself to a governance practice. It's really caught my attention that in April and May alone, just looking at the calendar, that Dr. Ciampa was expected to be at over 50 hours of meetings, scheduled meetings, like meetings on board book committee meetings. I would project that there is some equivalent number of hours required to prepare for those meetings. These are school board focused meetings. These are not work with administrators. These are not work with staff development. These are not work with staff selection. These are not work with strategic plan setting. These are not grant writing hours. This is a substantial portion of her time, and it decreases her visibility in the community. I have to imagine it was a particularly long day on Monday, going from a committee a meeting of the full board with the city to awards night. Tonight, missing a number of things. I understand there was a committee meeting on the same night as the athletic awards event. Nobody was able to spend a substantive amount of time at the ELL event tonight because we were touring the middle school, got to hear the speakers, but didn't get to notably engage with parents. So I think it's the last visibility piece. I had also spoke in the past about the legal fees associated with questions raised by the board. These are questions that are raised about changing policies that model policy already exists and has been legally vetted would be an example. Questioning requirements around Native American parent engagement and what needs to happen with that above and beyond the recommendations from the administration. And in the first quarter of this year, I just received the number, it's over $3,700. So I think when we look at that amount, it's a amount of resources that's not being used. I don't think it represents the expertise of our administration, and it doesn't recognize the administration's expertise. And it's causing a reduction in visibility. And then on a super different topic, I just want to let everybody know, because we couldn't be at the section meeting or the section game for softball, thank you, that unfortunately the Hastings Raiders lost this evening to Eastridge and have been eliminated from the section tournament. And that was a thing that started at 4:30, but again, because of scheduling that the board asked the superintendent to do, we were not able to be in attendance. So please consider the valuable resource you have in the superintendent's time and the other lead administrator's time, and respect that by staying focused on governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you please hit the thank you? Appreciate that. All right. Next, we are moving on to the reports and discussions section of our agenda, and I will let Superintendent Champa take it from here.
Just a couple of items that I want to note. This time of the year is always an exciting time as we're wrapping up a number of things. The EL picnic is just an example. The turnout there was fabulous and just so great to see, and the night cooperated with the weather as well. I just also want to note that we just received doffing grants, so we have the ability, our staff has the ability to write for grants for the Doffing Foundation, and that was awarded to the tune of $81,000. So we'll be recognizing those like we did St. Croix Valley as we get ready to go back to school. And then also just this week, we had the senior awards night, and to see this community contributing over $200,000 to our graduating seniors, just a reminder of the support in this community, which was so greatly appreciated. And then a number of celebrations that are noted here. May is a big month, so Principal Appreciation, School Lunch Heroes Appreciation Day, Nurse Appreciation, Teacher Appreciation, and then Communications Appreciation Day. And I would just add that I now appreciate the Middle School Tug of War Day. I had no idea what we were in for there, but that is certainly an event here in Hastings as well. And then finally, I just wanted to note PFAS. So we have been having a lot of conversation about PFAS and having conversations with the city as well. And just to let you know that the district is working on replacing filters, filters that do filter for PFAS, and are receiving quotes for what we might be able to do at each of our buildings for the entire building. So just an update there.
Thank you. Next up is the cadence review.
Here's a monthly review of all of our leadership team collectively, where we are on each of the themes or aims of the district. And you can see a dip there a little bit in engaged learners. We maybe expect that in May, but I did go in and read all of their reflections on this, because remember, they also give a numerative individually and a narrative as well. And so part of that you're seeing is due to MCA score or MCA testing, just not a time that they're able to do some of the academic work that they're also working on. And so that was noted in that area. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Our next agenda item is a building construction fund project update from Ms. Subert.
Thank you.
So the Building Construction Fund accounts for the money the district received from the voter-approved bonds, and it can be used for school renovations and improvements. We currently have $344,000 approximately in unallocated funds. There were 2 additional projects that closed in April, so they were both the fire alarm high school system and the district-wide fire alarm alert system. So those 2 projects are now closed. And then moving into in process, we have the grounds and sites improvements project. And overall in this fund, we have about $2.9 million left.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, moving right along, we have a data request update from Ms. Moen.
Good evening. The last report that I provided you was on March 27th of 24. Since that date, we have had 2 data requests that were made. Both have been processed. There are no pending data requests right now. The total cost for data requests is $892.24. The period of those data requests was December 5th through January 31. We have not had any additional bills related to data requests since that time.
Thank you very much. All right, any questions? Okay, next up is middle school science curriculum review and discussion.
All right, I have Kristen Gullix here. So the 2 of us are going to tag team a little bit and just talk about science curriculum, where we've been specifically in the middle school, and then a recommendation for you. So we have a presentation here for you. Just looking at, starting to look at the history of the review of our science curriculum. So in 2016, the district started looking at K through 12. There were new standards coming out for 2019. So really started unpacking those standards to ensure that the district was ready for the 2019 standards. Participated in vertical alignment and cross-cutting concepts. They established a book club. Looking at that framework, and then there was just a lack of progress and follow-through, and then there was a departure of our teaching and learning director, and that just led to a stall in the process. Then the work was reignited in 2020 with a new teaching and learning director and a consultant, sorry I don't know the last name. Marilyn was brought in to design storylines, and you can speak to that.
Yeah, so she was from the Rochester area, and our teaching and learning director knew of her, and she came in and she was showing us how to design, because really this 3D modeling or this 3D assessments is building storylines for students. And then they're using the cross-cutting concepts and the science of engineering and practices to build these storylines and then build up to this assessment at the end, whether it be developing a model, doing other legwork with it. But she was just showing us how to build these storylines. And then that kind of came to a stall.
So then, in 2022, a variety of curriculums came and presented. And so the curriculums that were looked at are known as Amplify, Elevate, STEM scopes. Amplify was chosen at that time, but was cost prohibitive. So Elevate was then piloted in grades 5, 6, and 7. Do you want to speak to the pilot?
So the pilot for Elevate, it was basically the old Pearson program. So it was very similar to what the students had done. They had updated it, so it was meeting the 2019 standards. The one thing that was nice with Elevate is the NGSS was adopted, but Minnesota standards are a little bit uniquely different. So Elevate had a specific book just for Minnesota-based standards. It was engaging for the kids to have the program built the way it was, I think, just because it was teaching us as teachers, especially, that kids can do tough things, like some of the higher level thinking, the higher order strategies. They lacked a little bit with the modeling. I felt like now that we've had the opportunity to pilot Twig, I just think that Elevate was more of, there was the old science still embedded in it with just not quite the engagement piece that we were looking for. So yeah, good pilot though, just not maybe what we were looking for.
Then in 23, so towards the end of last school year, a teacher heard about TWIG from a colleague and a presentation was requested. 8th grade piloted TWIG in May, and 5, 6, and 7 started their pilot in the fall of 2023. And then the plan from Teaching and Learning was to present to the school board for adoption in November for grades 5, 6, and 7. And at that time, 5th grade was given the permission to dispose of their old materials.
Yeah, and they were the old Pearson. They also had some FOSS kits from like prehistoric times, I'd say, because that was when I taught back at McCullough Elementary. And I'm trying to think, that was way back yonders.
And then in 23, 24, the teaching and learning director departed. In the interim, revisited the history and steps moving forward. So the team reviewed ed reports and the alignment or lack thereof of Minnesota and the NGSS standards. And then the curriculum reviewed included, so just recently, we looked at Amplify. We had a presentation come in, and then Open SciEd. And with Open SciEd, it does not include grade 5. So then our recommendation at this point is we would like to recommend that TWIG is adopted for grade 5 only, and we will pass out for you the Minnesota Standards Alignment. There is not a curriculum out there that was designed for Minnesota. Because Minnesota did not adopt the standards, everything that we do is a cross-reference, right? And so I will pass out to you. Actually, I think you have it in front of you. You have the correlation to Minnesota standards for science. So on the left-hand side, we have all of the Minnesota standards for science for grade 5. And on the right are all of the TWIG correlations. So your next question is, likely, if TWIG is adopted, and I have the cost there, it's $101,000, $640.33. That is all materials for 6 years. So that would cover the next 6 years. And then grades 6, 7, and 8 will use the 24-25 school year to review options for recommendation for 25-26. So this has been a 9-year journey for our science team in the middle school. Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to pass out to you is a document that shows what all of our area schools are currently adopting and what that looks like in the area. And the last area here is just a reference to the districts that are using TWIG in Minnesota. And if there are no further questions, Kristen's going to go over a sample of TWIG.
Yeah. I'll do my personal best with this to keep it somewhat short. But I want you to get a good visual as to what TWIG is and understanding of it as well. So my name is Kristen Gullix. I'm the Hastings Middle School Science Department lead. And like we said, our recommendation is to adopt TWIG for 24-25 school year with that 6-year plan. So what is TWIG? So TWIG is a program, it's highly engaging for students. It's 3-dimensional. Students become STEM engineers and they get to become actual scientists to go through real world phenomenon and solve real life problems. And I picked these pictures with intention because as a 5th grade student, they will become a hydrologist, an astronomer, and an ecologist over the course of the year. So as a 5th grade student, what they do is they start off the year, they don't have a book, and they have 5 different mods that they go through. The first mod, they just become scientists and engineers. They're gonna learn how to critically ask good questions, to critically have good discussions, co-craft things together, just be able to work as a team because they're coming in with really a lack of that experience maybe so at the elementary at the time. Teachers in 5th grade said this was a huge benefit. Not every student in TWIG, all TWIG students have to go through Mod 0. It was recommended and they're very grateful that they did it. When they get into Modular 1, they'll become a lead scientist helping private investigators go through the mystery materials of matter. The one thing I liked about TWIG when I piloted it myself is they have an anchor phenomenon for every unit and then key investigations that go back to the anchor phenomenon. So you're always revisiting back to it and building on their kind of wonder questions. Then they become an ecologist, they enter into Yellowstone, and they get to investigate living versus non-living things and just talk about how matter exists cohesively together. Then they join the hydrologist team and they get to go into the water cycle, looking at saltwater versus freshwater. In this one here, the students basically, their anchor phenomenon is just like what places lack fresh water and what can we do to solve that. And then finally they become the astronomer, which of course is my favorite as an earth science teacher, where they're going through the galactic guidebook. And it was really cool. The other day we were outside doing a cloud investigation, and a 5th grade team was outside, and Susie Flynn had this giant earth ball, and the kids had these mini flashlights, and I asked them at the end what they were doing, and the students said that they were learning what a light year was, because it's such a big aha moment when they find out there's one star in our solar system and the next one's 4 light years away. And it's hard to explain it to a kid, but TWIG does such a good job of so much hands-on investigation for kids to learn like what 4 light years looks like or what 8 light years looks like. So just guiding those students into those moments. So my students with TWIG, I can't share a 5th grade introduction because I don't have their password and we're not supposed to share that. So I'm going to introduce you guys to what TWIG does with students with this volcanoes. It's about our volcano hunters. So our first unit was volcano hunters, and they like to grab the attention of students before they learn the anchor phenomenon. So here's, oh, maybe it won't work. I wonder if you have to click on the video, Tammy. Maybe it won't work. That's okay. It's really cool. Yeah, I wonder if you click on the video. If not, it's okay. There is another video embedded in here though, so hopefully.
Go
right there, if you click on the actual video itself, like the picture.
Up above. There we go.
Yeah, just to show you what the students see. Oh, no, it won't work. That's okay. Technology. Where is Sarah when we need her, right? It's okay. But so the students have, so what TWIG does is they work with a company or a college called the Imperial College, and they're one of the top 10 STEM colleges, and they use authentic data in real life situations. So with volcano hunters, the kids were exposed to 4 areas within the past, like since 2021 was the most recent news articles, where the students get to investigate volcanoes currently active or have recently been active and what residents needed to be worried. So it engages them right from the start. They become a volcanologist. They kind of see the reason behind what they're doing. We get a lot of kids that'll say, why do I have to learn this? And STEM does a really good job of that. Moving forward then, they use 3-dimensional learning. In 5th grade, kids will go through what they call DCIs, going through all the discipline core ideas. And as they're going through their lessons, they use cross-cutting concepts. They use these ideas of science, engineering, and practices. And if the next video works for us, you'll get to see this in action. So throughout the book, and if you want to take these to take a look, I know I've got some copies from the 5th grade teachers too, but the kids are constantly working through all of these different cross-cutting concepts. And this is where these storylines come into play, where kids can go back and forth through these cross-cutting concepts and engineering practices as they build to their 3D assessment. 5th grade in particular, they use this instructional design of spark, investigate, report, connect, and reflect. Teachers have like the time limit for each to kind of engage the students and then go through that process and reflect at the end. The video here does a good job explaining, hopefully this one works because it's more towards what 5th graders will experience.
Oh, here we go.
Yay.
Sound.
So that's a real quick kind of snapshot as to what a student would experience throughout one of their, probably just one key investigation toward that anchor phenomenon. So TWIG does, I'm hoping this will go right forward for us. It builds a really strong foundation. Students in this picture, they're doing a watershed lab with their becoming a hydrologist. You can see that they're doing hands-on investigation, just making sense of that phenomenon. There's a lot of modeling. Teachers shared a variety of pictures with me. I just grabbed a few of these, but developing some models for students so they're highly engaged, and then sharing and like having those co-crafted conversations. One of the things I've seen as a 6th grade teacher is their ability to state claims with evidence and reasoning. And a student yesterday during our tornado, which was kind of bad timing, a tornado lesson, said, so where did you find your evidence to another student to make that statement? And I was like, wow, like they're using that terminology. They've really surprised me with their writing. That's been the biggest change, and I'm really excited to see 5th graders coming up with that. All of us 5-8 use science word walls. We've heard from our ELL teacher, Emily Scott, how important it is for those students with that as a second language, that they are coming in and being able to see that visual representation. We move the words around on the wall so it helps the students make sense of their learning. And I always say, use the words around you. It's a great tool. This is the 2 partnerships that TWIG does use. The Imperial College, like I said, they're high in the they're one of the top 10 STEM schools. Because of that, they're able to kind of grab from global researchers to use that authentic data to create real life STEM experiences. Scale is just used by many agencies to build these 3D model assessments. They're known for their language as well, like helping build those language routines. So really it's a multimodal system of hands-on learning where kids are applying those, you saw SEPs, CCCs, all these great lingos that we got to learn. Digital labs using authentic phenomenons for kids and authentic data with STEM experiences shadowing those scientists and engineers. I've noticed a lot with the text investigation, like I said, kids being able to state those claims with evidence and reasoning, no longer just making guesses, but really showing what they know. And then the video investigations as well. I didn't get to do a video investigation in 6th grade with TWIG, but I know that 5th grade has utilized that as well. It does have great access and equity for all students. Throughout the teacher's guidebook, you'll see that too as you go through, if you make that option, just to see that differentiation and instruction for all students. And then last but not least, their 3D assessment. There's a lot of pre-explorations just to get rid of some of those misconceptions that kids have. The formative assessments throughout really go back to that CCC of just reflection. That's where those CCCs come in. So like this is a comparing and contrasting. It builds on using writing domain, reading domains, speaking domains, so students are engaged in that. You saw in that small clip, there's a lot of cross conversation with students because so much of it is student-centered or student-led. Performance tasks, you saw in that multimodal. And then their benchmarks and assessments, their summative assessments, there's a variety of ways for kids to master. And I did ask the 5th grade teachers, being that we did a short pilot, I asked them, I said, what happens if a student doesn't meet mastery on their benchmarks? And they said that TWIG offers, here's the response. They said, if students don't meet mastery on the benchmarks, TWIG Science does anchor phenomenon, which is essentially extra lessons for students to try and gain mastery on certain benchmarks. Anchor phenomenon touches on certain aspects of the lesson and provides students with additional resources to understand the content. And then they have multiple ways to go through mastery. So they could do multiple choice, written response, and a lot of times it's model demonstrations. So, and then there's a bunch, for us to implement, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Students have their workbooks both online and the actual textbook itself, same with teacher edition. Teachers said they really only use the online platform for absent students and then the digital labs. The science in a kit's great. Once you get it, it's non-consumable. You have it forever. The consumable is super inexpensive to get a lot of materials from the dollar store. They do have leveled readers. They have not utilized them in the TWIG pilot except for in Unit 1. They used a few of them. So I don't have the leveled readers, but I'm sure that we could get copies of those for you as well. And then just students, their say, I mean, these were kids' comments, so there's no period on the end, so I didn't put a period on the end. But like their favorite lab was watershed, just seeing the hands-on for kids. I'm excited they're gonna come up knowing what runoff is. Their favorite lab for ecosystems with their 2-liter bottles and just seeing how some ecosystems changed and some didn't. They were making homemade lava lamps for the Matter Mystery Hotline and watching those ingredients interact. Twig does have a Friday Twig reporter that shares up-to-date current things going on in science. I know my 6th grade is one of the aha moments for us was there's a 3D printed community in the United States. What? How cool is that? And then they made homemade banana bread. Smelled great, and it looked awful. That makes sense to me. I can't imagine 5th graders doing that in a microwave, but they did. So I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate that's a lot of information in a short amount of time, but I'm really passionate about Twig for the 5th grade students because I see the excitement in them myself, and I hear what they're doing, and it gets me excited for what's coming up the turnpike. So yeah, I really like what I see personally. So thank you. But any questions, I'd be more than willing to try and answer. I know it's a lot though.
I was kind of struck by the way it was outlined for folks. It seems like it puts a lot more of the onus on that student discovery and discussion, and that instructor kind of pulls back to facilitator. Is that the impression that staff got as well as the implementer?
And I'm going to be honest, when I piloted Twig, that was the hardest thing for me because I wanted to just say what I knew they needed to know, like which residents should be worried? The people that lived in Yogi Kerta. You know, I wanted to tell them, but I couldn't because you had to investigate like how plate boundaries moved and what type of rocks were found. And you just, everything in you as a teacher, you just have to hold back and let them investigate it. And then once they start, it's amazed at what they can do. So they still need us, but it's amazed at what they can do. So, and they did say the only standard the 5th grade teachers felt wasn't hit with Twig was simple machines. So there was one standard they felt, and that's one that they're going to have to incorporate. But otherwise, going through, they really felt it hit the standards very well. And we did find that with Twig in K5, that it does a much better job than 6-8 for alignment. So, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the information. Appreciate it and all the work.
I'll just recap. So the recommendation is for Twig, and this will come back next month as an action item, and only for 5th grade. But I just want to reassure everyone that grades 6, 7, and 8, even though they would prefer to use one more year to really look, they know their standards, and they have designed a number of materials and just feel good about where they are right now. So I don't want to leave the impression that science is just kind of waiting, because that is far from the truth. You want to speak to
No, yeah. So, I mean, in 6th, well, we've had 9 years of reviewing the standards, so I feel like we're ahead of the game in a lot of ways. But like in 6th grade, we use composition notebooks to do interactive student notes. In 7th grade, they do very similar interactive student notes, but it's more of a digitalized component. 8th grade, I'm not as familiar with what they do. One thing that I will say for using interactive student notebooks is that we can use some of those AVID strategies. So now that we're becoming more of an AVID, implementing that within the middle school, it's nice that we have the same tools and language. So our kids have done like one-pagers. Word walls lead really well into that. There's so many models and designs in their own books, and they take ownership of it. It's fun to see. It's been good for me to grow with interactive student notebooks too, because they're highly engaging. It's less teacher taught and more student driven. So I love it. Yeah.
And just finally, just a thank you to our science team.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
A lot of perseverance here, so.
There's only 9 of us and we're really close.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And possibly for folks who are wondering why our superintendent seated herself at that table, she has been the acting director of teaching and learning for most of the school year this year. So she's been doing a phenomenal job covering both areas. So. All right, and next, I'm going to say that this is maybe my favorite part of actually the meeting tonight. This is exciting. So we'll get to that, sorry. Next is our committee reports at this time. First up, we have District 917 from Director Zuzik.
I'll be very brief. The themes I want to talk about, and you've got a 2-page thing that I wouldn't spend a lot of time reading. The gist of it is that 917 has a couple of cultural attributes that I think that Hastings Public Schools and other schools could could strive to do. One is that across the entire culture, when there's conflict between kids and adults, or kids and kids, or adults and adults, or when there's big puzzle pieces that they're trying to solve, even used in negotiations is a process called listening circles. And it's a really rich way of solving problems because everybody walks away with ownership and belonging. Another thing I want to talk about is they've used legislative funding for teacher apprenticeships and career technical education. And remember that every dollar that they take in offsets the number of dollars that we as a member district have to pay, because all of the 9 districts have to pay in to make their programs work. And so as they've really gotten a lot of money, it's remarkable. And I think that we are one of 9 districts that are really receiving the benefit of that. And I just want to give a little bit of context. They hired a person 2.5 years ago who came in as a district level administrator, so working directly with the superintendent. Her name is Marcy Levi McGuire, and she has written a ton of grants. Of particular interest, she wrote a lot of grants about finding teachers, because remember that that's a big problem for 917 and for Hastings Public Schools. But she's written grants with other intermediate school districts, and there's 4 of them in the state. So 917 is what we belong to. There's also 916, 287, and 288. And those 4 intermediate districts have come together to write grants, and they've received over $3.5 million in grant funding that goes over a number of years, like 5 years. And at least $900,000 of that has been realized in 917 during the time that Marcy's been here. And Marcy has more than quadrupled her salary. I don't know that a grant writer or a communications expert is right for our district level team, and frankly, that's not our decision to make. We would act on a recommendation from administration, but districts that have grant writers get a lot of money. And the way that state funding is happening, there's a lot of pockets that you have to write a proposal, and then you're funded part of the money. It is grant writing. And it's paid rich dividends for 917 to the benefit of District 200 and the other 8 member districts. Pass.
Thank you. Any questions? No? All right. Next up is the Community Collaboration Committee update from Director Pine.
We had our second collaboration meeting last week, and we featured topics with Dr. Champa, went through the innovation team. Director Bruns went through legislation updates. Director Biermeyer went through the election years, odd versus even. I was presenting information on the READ Act. And the best part of the event, in my opinion, was in the beginning we started with a story wall that Director Bruns had came up with, where everybody got to engage in kind of the timeline of where the district started and where everybody kind of could put ideas and memories of timelines of the Hastings School District. So how far along we've actually, came since its inception. At the end, we did ask for some future topics, and we got topics and some feedback. So we've got some other pieces that we'll bring back to our committee to have future roundtables in our next event.
All right. Any questions, comments? Okay, I did have one question because I had a community member reached out and asked about the strategic plan topic that was brought up. So just wondering what that was about, since we haven't talked about that as a board quite yet.
Yeah, we put together a Google form to collect folks that would be interested in that process at the very end, because that was the kind of the theme of the evening, was our past leading up to where we are now, informing our present. going over the things that are going to drive change, and then collecting folks that might be interested in that process when it goes forward.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a Facilities Committee update from Director Milner.
We met on Friday, May 3rd, and we went over a funding overview. Types of funds were explained, funding sources, and then budgets. And so we reviewed the capital budgeted projects, reviewed the LTFM budgeted projects, and then the grounds and maintenance project breakdown by location. And the next time we meet, which will be August 9th, there will be a 10-year plan, LTFM plan, brought to the full board in June. And just a point to make that revenue decreases as enrollment decreases. So that's something that we just have to be aware of as we move forward, in being very aware of our enrollment.
All right, any questions? Okay. Next up, Finance Committee update from
Finance Committee, pardon me. Finance Committee did not have a meeting. Our next meeting is on May 29th, so next week.
All right, thank you. Next up is the NAPAC Committee update from Director Bruns.
Yeah, the last NAPAC meeting was on May 2nd at Pleasant Hill Library. Of course, a lot of tremendous things have happened as a consequence of that group's work since then. So I will skip over some of those portions, other than to say that the graduate honoring ceremony was a testament to their work and amazing, and there were a lot of tears in the house, and it was really cool to be a part of, and really just to be present, you know, and recognize those individuals in the community and that growth and how they honor that transition and the accomplishment of something huge like graduating from high school. I'll point out really a few things here, some district updates on our end. We have received feedback from our staff about curriculum and representing the members of our community authentically next year. So we've expressed a need for resources from MDE to implement that to the level that we hope to do. MDE is currently reviewing curriculum with tribes at this point, and it should be noted that there's a supplemental piece to go with our Northern Lights curriculum that's currently being used at our 6th grade level. We did go over the response to the no consent vote, and that was shared at the last regular board meeting, if you remember that piece. Graduation ceremony again, amazing. They also digested, came together, and reflected on the experience at MIEA. This was a fantastic event up in Hinckley. I want to make sure I get the location right. Absolutely sold out. The learning for every committee member that was there, they couldn't say enough good about it, and how that cultural understanding can inform what we do in our larger system, that make sure that if we have a tier 1 support or a PBIS system, that it actually captures everyone that we're hoping to have be a part of our community. Should also be noted again, because I don't think Keenan has won enough awards, but he won an award, and Skylar Little Soldier was honored as well. So in their respective categories, so Committee Member of the Year for Keenan, Female Athlete of the Year for Skylar Little Soldier, and enough can't be said. Even when they were in passing in hallways, it should be noted that Hastings NAPAC received high praise for their efforts over the last year. They have really gone a long way, and you can hear the passion in their voice when they're discussing what they're doing and what they're taking on. There are some dates coming up next year, and the MIEA event will take place at Prairie Island next year, and I would encourage folks to go based on the feedback. Yep.
Fantastic, thank you. Any questions? All right. So this is the committee that I'm looking forward to. Our Student School Board Committee update from Director Dressley. And Director Bruns, sorry. So obviously this is a new thing for Hastings School Board. This has been months and months in the making, so it's exciting that we are moving towards this now. All right, I'll let you guys take it over.
So I'll just briefly speak to the committee meeting. We met, and what we did during that meeting is we tallied up the total scores from each of the 3 members of the interviewing team. And based on those committee combined scores, the committee identified 2 students per grade, and the committee is recommending that the board accept our recommendation for adding 4 student school board representatives.
And nothing would give me more pleasure than to introduce two of our folks that have accepted this role, because it is a big deal, but you threw your hat in the ring, you wanted to advocate, you're passionate about it. So the four members that we are putting forward to are Genevieve Benke, Aiden Suarez Garcia, Victoria Stanky, and Briseis Rosnaco. And y'all want to introduce yourselves and maybe state why this is something you're into, and welcome to the team.
Yeah, so I'm Victoria Steinke. I really was excited for this opportunity because I think everybody has their own opinions and has their own inputs, and everybody really wants to advocate for the student body. And I think there's no better way to do that than have members of the student body advocate for our peers. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity.
Yeah, hi, I'm Aiden Suarez Garcia, and what interested me in this was just being able to have a voice and kind of display what she said, the students say about the community and how just better overall and just grow myself as a person.
And I'll just say that your presence here isn't that the other candidates weren't of high quality. It was such a fantastic pool to be able to really apply this really critical process to. I'm really proud of y'all. Congratulations on being a part of our board. So we'll go through some training in August and you'll be seated in September.
Congratulations. All right, thank you for that update and introduction. Next up, we have our policy committee update from Vice Chair Dressley.
Okay, during May, the policy committee met twice. During these two meetings, there were a number of policies that the committee is in the process of reviewing, and that will be brought forward to the board in the coming months. They include policy 417, chemical use and abuse, 504, student dress code and appearance, and 506, the student discipline policy. The committee also reviewed 3 current policies and 1 new policy, and also revised 3 policies that will be detailed in the readings that follow. Our next policy committee meeting is May 30th at 11 a.m.
All right, go right ahead into the first readings then, unless anyone has questions. All right.
Okay, so for first reading tonight, we have 505, distribution of non-school sponsored materials and on school premises by students and employees. This policy was updated to align with MSBA model policy. The committee added 1 word to section 3A, which was temporarily. Other than that, all other updates were based on MSBA model policy. Any questions on?
Director or Chair Tate, in section 6, paragraph C and D, they're the same. So I don't know if it's just a redundancy, just delete it and take it out.
Paragraphs 6 and 7, which section?
Section 6, paragraphs C and D. Yep.
Well, since this is a first reading, that will be sent back to committee, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. So the next policy on the for first reading is 507, corporal punishment and prone restraints. This is a recommendation by MSBA. No other updates were made to this policy. If there's no questions, we'll roll right into 507.5, school resource officer. This is a new policy for ISD 200, and it is the model policy from MSBA. No changes were made to it except for the cross references to ISD 200 policies.
And we should note both of these, right? The 507 and 507.5 went to Chief Wilski.
Correct. Review. There was no objections to her. Yep. Any questions on those? 508, extended school year for certain students with individualized education programs. All these changes, again, were made to, the revisions were made with MSBA model policy, and there was some cleanup to format. Other than that, no other changes were made. Any questions on any of the first readings?
I think No. First read. No, pardon me.
Then I'll move into the policies that were revised are 616 school district systems for accountability, 618 assessment of student achievement, and 619 staff development for standards. During the legislature this year, they changed the world's best workforce to comprehensive achievement and civic readiness. So that language was changed in all three of those policies, but no other changes were made to any of those three policies. They're up for third reading tonight. So I just wanted everybody to be clear about it. We have, and that's it for first readings and for revised policies.
All right, and then if you want to head into second reading policies.
Second reading policies, we have 423, employee-student relationships. I'm just going to roll through, so unless somebody raises their hand, I won't stop in between. Is that okay? 430, employee recognition compensation. 501, school weapon policy. 502, search of student locker, desk, personal possessions, and students' persons. 503, student attendance. 503.2, early admission to kindergarten. And 529, staff notification of violent behavior by students.
I just wasn't sure if we needed to address students at the age of majority or if it's already in there. When I'm looking at policy 503, so student attendance policy around excused absences in those pieces. If a student is the age of majority, if they're 18 or over, do they have the ability, because of being the age of majority, to excuse their own absence, to call in or provide documentation? But I don't know if that's covered under phrasing like just guardian, and maybe it's assumed that once you're 18 that responsibility is yours as well.
That's something that I can check into and get back to you on. So it's a second reading, so we'll look at that on the 30th and get a response to you. And any other questions? Okay, so policies for approval after third reading. 220, school board student representative. 604, instructional curriculum. 616, school district system for accountability. 618, assessment for student achievement. 619, staff development for student standards. And 802, disposition of obsolete equipment and materials. Any questions on third readings? And last but not least, sunset policies. There are three policies that are going to be sunset, and it's 429, ethical behavior, or sorry, I apologize, 428, ethical behavior, 429, conflict of interest, and 432, employee social media. Any questions on sunset policies? That ends my policy committee update and readings.
Thank you for the lengthy update. Appreciate it. All right, so next up is our action items, and first on that list is the consent agenda. Could I please get a motion on this?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Pine, second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the consent agenda. Sorry, I gotta scroll a long ways here. Okay, next is our individual action items. And first up, we have District 917's long-term facilities maintenance plan. Director Zuzek.
If I can add a little bit of information about that. Each member district is responsible for some of the funding for the only owned property by 917. The only property that they owned is the Alliance Education Center. And these dollars go to long-term facility maintenance for that building, and the services, not for the services that are there, but the building itself. And it's a relatively small amount of money, but you need to understand that they don't have the authority. 917 doesn't have the authority to tax its tax base directly. They have to go through us. I would recommend that we waive the reading of this resolution. It is a resolution, and I recommend that we waive the reading.
Are you making a motion?
I make a motion to approve, and I recommend that we waive the reading.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Brunswick second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the long-term facilities maintenance project without reading the resolution. All right, next up is our middle school pod redesign. Superintendent Champa?
Sure. So you had your tour tonight, and last at our work session, you heard about the desire to move to a house system. We have a number of classrooms that are moving, all but 5. And to best accomplish that, there's also a recommendation of, if you want to pull up that design request, and this was also reviewed at the work session. That's just the picture. So we went through line by line last time what that means. So it's the number of doors being added and a number of classrooms also. So with that, that's the recommendation before you to accomplish what is in the colored zones or houses.
All right. Could I get a motion on this item, please?
I would make a motion to approve the expenditure of $235,000, the projected cost for the middle school pod redesign, and I love the plan.
Seconded, Director Dressley.
All right, any discussion? I just want to say one thing. I want to say thank you for, I know that this was not a small effort, and it was very, very well thought out, and appreciate absolutely all the work that went into this. All right, with that, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve $235,000 for the middle school pod redesign.
Thank you, and just a shout out to Trent Hansen. He has spent a lot of time on this, so thank you.
All right, and next we have the dance team proposal to approve. Superintendent Champa, you want to say a word about this?
Yes, this was brought to you also by Trent Hansen, and we are looking at adding a dance team, and this would come into the district as a club, and as a successful club, it has the potential then to move into a fully adopted athletic team by the district, but they will operate on their own, similar to what lacrosse did when that was first implemented.
All right, thank you. Could I get a motion on this item?
Bruns will make a motion to approve the dance team proposal.
Thank you.
Second, Milner.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the dance team proposal. All right, next up, recommendation for approval of the new student school board members. And we are thrilled that we got to meet 2 of them tonight. Thank you for being here. Could I please get a motion on this item?
I strongly recommend that we support the new school board members. I motion. Biermeyer.
Second, Dressley.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously to approve the new student school board members. Congratulations. All right, and finally, we have the final approval for the San Juan trip in June 2024. Did you want to say a word about it?
This is just coming from our language department, so hopefully you have all the details, and if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer.
All right, could I get a motion on this item?
I motion that we approve, or the recommendation for approval of the, or no, I'm sorry, I'm one above there. So I motion for the trip. I don't have it on my thing, I'm sorry. I don't have the exact wording on there. So for the trip to San Jose.
San Juan.
San Juan, there we go.
All right, motion to approve the San Juan trip is on the table. Could I get a second, please?
Zuzek seconds.
All right, any discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the trip to San Juan for the language arts group. All right, and finally, we have our future meetings. Sorry, I need to flip between a couple things here. Well, I should say, so first we have our work session scheduled for June 4th. And on that agenda so far, we have to review our vision card structure and metrics, to discuss how we're going to go about doing our board self-evaluation and or retreat. When we're going to discuss when the board gets involved in student behaviors. We're going to discuss even year elections. We are going to discuss that again. The local literacy plan will be presented to us, and then we will also be starting off our superintendent performance evaluation process. What else? What did I miss? We have on here, oh yes, we have the READ Act 2.0 follow-up as well as a Wit and Wisdom follow-up as well. I think I hit everything. Okay. And then for our June 26th regular meeting, that will be when we will also have a closed session to do our superintendent performance evaluation. We will be approving our 2024-25 budget, and then also any annual and mandatory policies that come forward. We will be also doing the Minnesota State High School League resolution. As mentioned previously in the meeting, we'll be discussing, or we'll be approving our, moving to approve the science curriculum that was presented. And then potentially if there is any other action that needs to be taken regarding the READ Act 2.0 or Wit and Wisdom, we would do that at that time. So those are our next two full board meetings. And then of course we have committee meetings. They were all mentioned this evening. And then to remind everyone, we do not have a July work session this year. So the only meeting that is currently scheduled is for July 24th. All right, I think that covers it. What is it? Sorry. Oh, July 31st, sorry. Okay, gotta update my spreadsheet. Yep, it got moved, that's right, sorry. July 31st is our regular meeting. Thank you for that. All right, if there's, and of course we have graduation coming up here, very significant event on June 7th. The board will be there, of course, to happily supply the graduates with their diploma sleeves. We don't actually get trusted with their diplomas, but we have their sleeves to hand to them and shake their hands and all that good stuff. So that's, quite frankly, that is my absolute favorite night of being on the board. And of course, to wish everyone well. So, with nothing else, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second, Milner.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously to adjourn at 7:23 p.m.